single dad got the last seat on the plane. What a first-class woman did shocked everyone. The airport was loud, rushed, and unforgiving, but for him, time felt frozen. A single dad stood at the gate clutching a worn boarding pass, his shoulders tense, his eyes heavy with exhaustion that came from years of doing everything alone. His flight had been delayed twice, his savings stretched thin, and the only seat left on the plane was the very last one, squeezed near the back, beside the engine's constant roar. He didn't complain. He never did anymore. Life had taught him that silence was often cheaper than hope. But as he stepped onto the aircraft, unaware eyes following him for reasons he didn't yet understand, something extraordinary was about to happen, something that would leave an entire plane stunned into quiet reflection. If you believe in kindness, in second chances, and in the power of small moments to change lives, please take a second right now to like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, comment your thoughts, and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps stories like this reach hearts that need them most. He moved slowly down the narrow aisle, his carry-on bag scuffed and fraying at the seams, holding everything he owned for this journey. The man was in his mid-30s, but the weight of responsibility had aged him far beyond his years. He wore a simple jacket, faded jeans, and shoes polished more from habit than necessity. Every step felt heavy, not just because of fatigue, but because this flight represented more than travel. It was a chance, a fragile one. He was heading to a new city for a job interview, one he wasn't even sure he deserved, but one he desperately needed. Back home, his young daughter waited with a neighbor, trusting him with the kind of faith only a child can give, believing her father could fix anything simply by trying hard enough. He had arrived late to the airport because childcare fell through at the last moment. When he finally reached the counter, breathless and apologetic, the agent told him there was only one seat left. No window, no aisle, just a narrow space in the back row. He accepted it with a nod, grateful he wasn't turned away entirely. He had learned to accept leftovers from life without bitterness. As he passed through first class, he avoided looking at the wide seats, the calm smiles, the quiet luxury. It wasn't envy that made him look down, it was humility mixed with the fear of being judged. The cabin settled, engines humming like distant thunder. Passengers adjusted blankets, scrolled through phones, and ordered drinks without thinking twice. In first class sat a woman whose presence felt different from the rest. She was composed, elegant, her posture calm but her eyes observant. She wore simplicity with confidence, the kind that didn't need to announce wealth but couldn't hide it either. She noticed him the moment he walked past. Not because of how he looked, but because of how he carried himself, like someone used to being invisible, yet determined not to disappear. As the plane prepared for takeoff, turbulence rattled lightly, and the man in the back tightened his grip on the armrest. Flying always unsettled him, but tonight his nerves came from more than altitude. His thoughts drifted to unpaid bills, to his daughter's school shoes that were starting to wear thin, to the interview tomorrow that could change everything or nothing at all. He closed his eyes, silently rehearsing answers, promising himself he would stay strong no matter what happened. Halfway through the flight, something shifted. The flight attendants moved through the cabin, and quiet murmurs rippled like a soft wave. Heads turned. Curiosity replaced boredom. The woman from first class had stood up. She didn't rush. She didn't make a scene. She spoke calmly to the crew, then walked down the aisle toward the back. Her heels echoed softly, each step deliberate. Passengers watched, confused, some intrigued, others skeptical. When she reached the last row, she stopped beside the single dad. He looked up, startled, unsure if he had done something wrong. People like her didn't usually come looking for people like him. His first instinct was embarrassment. Maybe she was uncomfortable. Maybe there was a complaint. He straightened, ready to apologize for something he hadn't even done. Instead, she offered him something unexpected, not words, but presence. The flight attendant gestured gently, explaining through action what was about to happen. The woman had given up her first-class seat. Not as a promotion raffle. Not as a reward, but as a choice. She wanted him to have it. The cabin fell into stunned silence. Some passengers whispered. Others stared openly. A few looked away, uncomfortable with their own thoughts. The man hesitated, shaking his head at first, assuming there had been a mistake. People like him didn't get these moments. Life had made that clear. But the woman's expression remained steady, kind without pity, firm without superiority. She didn't owe him an explanation, and yet her eyes seemed to say that sometimes the world only changes when someone decides to act. As he walked forward, the weight inside his chest shifted. Every step felt unreal, like walking into a dream he didn't know he was allowed to have. When he reached the wide seat, soft leather waiting, he paused again, overwhelmed. He had faced eviction notices, sleepless nights, and grief that hollowed him out from the inside, but this quiet generosity, broke him in a way pain never had. He sat down carefully, hands trembling, unsure how to exist in a space so gentle. The woman took his seat at the back without hesitation, declining attention, declining praise. She settled in as if discomfort was a small price for something far greater. The rest of the flight passed differently after that. Conversations softened, screens dimmed, even the hum of the engines felt less harsh. Kindness had changed the atmosphere, not loudly, but completely. In first class, the man stared out the window as clouds rolled beneath them like endless white fields. He thought of his daughter, of how he would tell her this story one day, not to boast, but to teach her that goodness still lived in strangers. He thought of how close he had come to giving up, to believing that effort was meaningless in a world that rarely noticed. And now here he was, reminded that sometimes being seen was enough to keep going. By the time the plane landed, something inside him had healed just a little. He didn't know if he would get the job. He didn't know how long his money would last. But he knew this moment would carry him forward. As passengers disembarked, many glanced at him with new eyes, some smiling softly, others thoughtful, all changed in their own quiet ways. Before leaving the plane, he paused, turning back once more, hoping to catch the woman's gaze. She was already moving with the crowd, anonymous again, just another traveler blending into the world. But the impact she left behind was anything but ordinary. Near the terminal exit, the man took a deep breath, squared his shoulders, and stepped into the future with a renewed sense of worth. For the first time in years, he felt like the universe had gently whispered that he mattered. If this story touched your heart, if it reminded you that kindness can still surprise us when we least expect it, please take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, and subscribe to the channel. Your engagement helps spread stories that heal. And before you go, leave a comment below telling us what this moment meant to you, because your words might be the encouragement someone else is searching for today. Sometimes, the last seat on the plane is exactly where a miracle begins.